Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, with special guest appearances from Andrew Hoags Hoganson. Three avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Minnesota Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Gran Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? The Gran Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Gran Group by emailing thegran, G-R-A-N, group at edinarealty.com or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. Men for the Win is part of the Pulltab Sports Network, covering sports, culture, and entertainment across the Midwest. Check them out at pulltabsports.com and give them a follow on all your social media platforms at Pulltab Sports. On this episode, David and Dan recap the Twins' 3-game series against the New York Mets. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win. My name is David Kufis. With me, as always, is Dan Thompson. The Twins helped the Mets break their 12-game losing streak, only managing to extend it one game to that final number of 12, Dan. They lose the next two. A very interesting series of baseball. If nothing else, this definitely kept you entertained. There was no moment, I think, where you could really shut the game off and think, oh, I shouldn't check in and see how things are going.
Mets fans are really bitter, too, about these losing streaks. I mean, Game 3 when they nearly gave it up again. Game 1, I mean, they were mad. And there's nothing, you don't want to anger a New Yorker. They just, they get angry really quick. Like,
we don't have any
do that.
We don't have any New York Sounders. I guess we have the one that I use for Hoags for his fantasy team.
Nobody cares.
I think that's from Brooklyn.
New-Yorky. Yeah. So anyway, no, I mean, disappointing that the Twins lost these. When Juan Soto came back in Game 2, it did kind of feel like maybe the Mets were going to have a little bit of a surge. They have a lot of players that have been good elsewhere, and they're kind of like Bo Bichette. Simeon is on this team. It was a number of faces that I recognize. I guess the question for the Mets is, can they tie that all together into a cohesive team that actually wins some baseball games? And I think they have a lot of issues. They got bullpen issues. They got starting pitching issues. Like, this is a flawed Mets team, obviously. And a flawed Twins team that we already kind of knew was flawed.
Yeah, the Mets were less expected to have the flaws like the Twins were expected to have flaws. And those cracks, Dan, they are really starting to show. The infield defense is a problem. The bullpen, clearly a problem. Nothing that anybody is surprised about, which makes it all the more frustrating that ownership decided to do nothing in the offseason.
Yeah. So, all right, we have a couple things to talk about. So, Taylor Rogers, by the way, hit his 10-year service time. That's always a big deal. So good on him. Good for his family. You say we owe an apology to Bailey Ober here, and I'm a little confused about what I'm supposed to apologize. Sometimes in life, you're supposed to apologize, but you don't quite know why. Yeah. I don't know why.
That's
you
called
want
being
to apologize.
married, Dan.
Yeah. I'm sorry for. Yes, I'm just sorry, and you just say you don't even go any farther. But what are we supposed to apologize to Bailey Ober for?
He had a really good outing in his last series, and we talked about him virtually not at all. Yeah. And so we should have given him some credit, I think, here, Dan.
I suppose so. Well, for me.
Where did all these unsupervised children come from?
I mean, if I have 4 too, I get it, Bailey. He understands. We're distracted. We were distracted by other things.
Okay, so I do want to offer some clarity. So, folks, I don't know if you're on YouTube. If you are, we have had a YouTube channel always, and we always post the show on YouTube. However, that show is always just the audio version of our show, just on YouTube. So you can watch it on YouTube at your leisure. We are changing that because this season we're really making a push here. We're trying to have video for each episode, but that has caused some confusion because if you go to our YouTube page, what you see is each episode you see twice. You see one that's audio only, and then you see another one that's the actual video feed. So we are going to discontinue the audio only feed. So if you want audio of this show, the only way to get strictly audio is going to be through the podcast. So either Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. However, if you do want the video, if you want to see Dan and I looking at each other with our silly faces when the other person says something ridiculous, you will be able to watch us on YouTube. I do want to make one thing clear. That show will be less produced, if you will, than the audio show. We typically do a pretty substantial edit of the audio show to make sure that you're getting just the content. There's nothing extra, no extra fluff. You're really just getting what we want to get out there. The video show will have a little bit of extra content, not because that content is good. Like if you just want to listen to the podcast, just listen to the podcast. That's great. It's just because from the video editing time perspective, you'll just get everything we have to offer here. So I hope that offers some clarity. But I would say, even if you don't watch us on YouTube or have any desire to do so, if you wouldn't mind wandering over, hit that subscribe button just so we can pump those numbers up, get a little bit more visibility. And Dan, I'm telling you what, it keeps me up at night trying to figure out this algorithm.
And I tell you too, okay, so you've added some things. People are gonna. I'm a little torn here by what's about to happen. So maybe we should just hit the button and then and then I'll explain what we're doing here, David. All right, let's go to the series recap.
Series recap.
Okay, so if you're watching on YouTube, you just saw something that David, I think, worked hard on. It's going to seem like he worked harder than he did because he used generative AI to make it happen. David and I had a long conversation about this off air. If there's here, hold on. I got to play my own sounder here, I think, before I get too far into this here. Oh, where's the one that I'm going for?
Please attempt to be a gentleman.
Okay, I am the most anti-generative AI person I think that exists west of the Mississippi. And are you technically east of the Mississippi, or where are you west of the Mississippi, David? How the river goes? You're east of it, right?
Yeah.
It just flows just barely. This makes me really uncomfortable because I don't want to pretend that we're something that we're not, David. And I feel like some of those little video things make it seem as if we are virtuoso, graphics editors here. And I feel like we're contributing to the demise of graphic designers out there, David, just by even putting that out there. So I want people to know that we didn't make that, other than David typing in some words into a chat and asking, and then I don't know, melting, spending thousands of gallons of water and electricity, and generally just causing the end of the earth. So defend yourself,
Oof.
David, if you would.
I don't think I need to, Dan. I think everybody knows this is the direction that things are moving in. The biggest thing, honestly, I did look at a few different freelancers and opportunities, and I honestly started to look at work, and I was just thinking, I'm really just hiring a middleman here to put their own prompts into the generative AI software. And I thought, if I can do it for significantly cheaper, I'm going to give it a go. So yeah, I understand where Dan's coming from. I definitely understand the concerns. And I think there are some artistic measures that do need to be protected. But at the same time, when we're with somebody, I don't have somebody who I could call and hire to do this work. And so this is what we're rolling with.
We do. We know multiple graphic designers, David, in our lives. Do we not?
I don't know if I know any graphic. Do you know a lot of graphic
we knew
designers? Last episode we found out about your lumber business supposedly, and now you got all these graphic designer friends who you've never once tagged to help us out.
Okay. Anyway, listeners can chime in. We do have a mailbag. David, here, I'll play it.
Min for the win mailbag.
Of course, nobody needs mail.
See, we made that, David. Like with we put together those sounders a little bit. So
I guess we hired a voiceover actor guy, and then I found a clip from Seinfeld and I put them together. I suppose in some ways, Dan, I just need to let you know, I'm actually a robot. That's our whole friendship.
I believe that man's ever been to medical
Did you see the movie Her? It's very much like that with you and I.
You're
I'm not
my
real.
operating system.
Yes.
Anyway,
yeah.
This is a third podcast, David, about ethical issues and things like that. That's what we need. We'll talk about a movie that raises these issues, and we'll bring it up because people here want to hear about baseball. Anyway, series recap. So game one, the Twins win this game 5-3. A very satisfying victory for the Twins here. Get some late hitting and they get some late pitching, which is great. Not an awesome start, though, for Simeon Woods Richardson, who must have eaten at a great New York subway shop or something like that with the extra PE at the end.
Okay, real quick. So I was on a date with my wife, and so I was watching this game on delay. And so all I see is a text from Dan come through.
I'm your wife.
I see a text from Dan come through that says, there's no shortage of sandwich shops in New York City. And I was like, okay, well, that's a bit of a spoiler. So I assumed he just got lit up. But then I was thinking, well, maybe he meant like he had more options than Subway, so he didn't get sick this time. I guess it was the
way to talk yourself into that there, David. Oh, it's like with Wild games, and I'm watching on delay, and I'm trying to avoid every spoiler. Anyway. Yeah. But the Twins, so it's not awesome because he gives up a 3-run home run to Francisco Lindor in the bottom of the third, and these Mets fans are just super excited about anything here. He muscles through 5, 4 hits, the 3 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. His ERA is at 5.96. He's kind of a mess right now, but he did get through 5, which was important. So Nolan McLean is the Mets ace, I guess if you want to call him. He's only got like 20 starts in his career. He's good early, really good early. 10 Ks. He gets into the 7th, but he gave up 5 hits and 3 earned runs. And it was the first, came in this top of the 6th when Buxton hit a 3-1 pitch for his 4th home run of the season. It was 3-2, and you have some momentum. Top of the 7th, in the next inning there, Clemens doubles, and then Keyshaw singles him in, and it's tied at 3. And then the bullpen was great. 4 hitless, walkless innings, which I don't think we've said before all season. Banda, Topa, and Sands. We'll talk about the top of the 9th a little bit later when the Twins get to face Devin Williams, who I think they really like facing over the last couple of years. Yeah. Sands pitches a clean bottom of 8th and 9th, gets the win. We will come back to Devin Williams here, but Royce returns. He goes 0 for 4 with 2 Ks, but he is outed, or he's bested, I guess, in a distraction way by Brooks Lee, who's 0 for 4 with 4 Ks. And then we go to game 2, David. Now, this was a fun one, too. The Twins do lose this game 3-2, but there were some interesting things here. So we see the debuts of Connor Prelip, and then also Kendry Rojas, who the Twins got in the Louis Varland trade. So that, I guess, was pretty exciting. And then it was the first time since 1999 that 2 or more Twins pitchers made their MLB debut in the same game. This is a great stat that they gave in the TV broadcast. I admit, though, it was April 7th, 1999. Dan Perkins, Mike Lincoln, and Joe Mays. And I only knew the first name of one of those guys. When I saw their last names, it was Joe Mays. Do you have any memory of Dan Perkins or Mike Lincoln pitching for the Twins?
99's a little early for me, Dan, as far as remembering my Twins fandom.
That's ridiculous here. Where's the sound error here? Oh, my gosh.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Rubbing it in my face.
No, you're okay, Dan. You're old, but keep running this through this one.
All right, so the victory for the Mets did end a 12-game losing streak for them. You would have think that they just, won an Emmy or a Tony or something for something on Broadway here. Juan Soto was back. He went 1 for 3 with a walk. Francisco Lindor went 2 for 2 with a run and RBI, but he left early with an injury that apparently it sounds like he's going to be out for a while, which is a bummer because he's kind of one of the bright stars of the league. Lindor's RBI single gave the Mets the early lead in the first. Larnach, actually, in the top of the 4th, opened with a double, and then Bell and Caratini, or Victorini, as you like to call him, moved him to 3rd and then to home to tie it at 1. Mets do take the lead back on an RBI double by Francisco Alvarez, so it's 2-1, and that ended Connor Prelip's debut. 4 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, 6 strikeouts. Pretty good. We'll talk more about him a little bit later. Top of the 6th, Buxton leads off the inning with a game-tying home run. Again, so clutch he was in this series. Bottom of the 8th, he makes a great diving catch we'll talk about later to end a Mets threat, but the threat had already taken a 3-2 lead. And then in the top of the 9th against Luke Weaver, who I think is 5'2", he had 3 strikeouts sandwiched around Lee's 2-out single. And so then the Twins do lose that one, and the Mets streak is over.
You kind of were holding out hope, though, right? Because
you were, totally.
For just a minute, the Mets fans had to put themselves in the Twins' perspective because Twins fans always live with the dread knowing that the game is likely going to end with a Twins loss in some spectacular fashion. And for the Mets, who have obviously just lost 12 straight, the fan base is frustrated. The payroll has skyrocketed, and they still can't win baseball games. It's one of those feelings that it's just so funny for a team that has put so much effort into building a roster that can compete to be this inept at winning baseball games, Dan.
Well, how about you take us through Game 3, because this was another Mets win.
Yeah, to quote Dan Thompson, this is the text I got from Dan. As I think this was in the top of the 9th, maybe at the bottom of the 8th, Dan says, "What a wacky baseball game." And it was. So my brother was over, and he was going to go home, and then Jeffers hits the grand slam, which we'll talk about later, and he's like, "Oh, now I got to stay," and he was annoyed because he had to stay to see how close the game got. But anyway, back to the beginning here. Top of the 1st, the Twins score without a hit. So Christian Scott walks 4 batters, but the Twins can't score anymore, Dan. They gave you 4 walks and you only scored 1 run. That's embarrassing. Let's start there. But then bottom of the 1st, Ryan gets touched early here. So Brett Baty hits a 3-run shot following a Bichette single and a Soto walk. So the Mets are up 3-1. Unfortunately, the woes don't stop there for Ryan. In the bottom of the 2nd, he allows 3 doubles and a walk. So the Mets are up 6-1 early. Ryan's final line here, 5 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 Ks, and then the 2 home runs, obviously. But the Twins add 1 in the bottom of the 4th on a Josh Bell RBI single. So it's 6-2. The Mets answer with a Carson Bench homer. Mets are up 7-2. Then Tristan Gray, who just pops up from time to time, it feels like, and hits a home run. So he hits a homer here. And that's going to make it 7-3 Mets. And things then get real interesting in the 8th, Dan. So we're going to talk about the Jeffers Grand Slam here, but just know this was an epic bat flip. I'm sure you'll talk about it there. But so the problem is, Dan, no matter how good your offense performance is, if they only tie it, when you don't have a bullpen, tie games are unlikely to work out in your favor here. So Andrew Morris, who Shelton is using as a long relief option, gets 2 outs, but then he leaves with runners on the corners. Anthony Banda comes in.
Oof.
We're going to talk about him later, but just know that he performed poorly. He gave up a walk and then a double. We'll come back to it. So the Met leads is 10-7 at that point. But the Twins don't go quietly. And this, again, my brother is at this point very frustrated. He wants to go home. He's got a little bit of a drive ahead of him. But so they do end up bringing Larnach up. They do end up bringing Larnach up with runners on second and third. But Larnach strikes out, unfortunately, against Williams on a changeup. And honestly, had the Mets lost this game, Dan, I think they would have needed security to get them out of the stadium because the fans booed them throughout the series aggressively.
Well, and I tell you, David, if you're striking out a lot, if you're looking for a miracle, well, we've got a sponsor that has something for you, Cascade CBX Sport. You could say that CBD is a miracle drug, and you wouldn't be wrong. The list of benefits using CBD is long. You can use it to knock out pain, reduce inflammation, sleep better. And when you choose Cascade CBX Sport, you get these benefits plus the peace of mind that their products are NSF certified for sport. CBD can help everyone from your aging grandmother managing her arthritis to a weekend warrior easing aches and pains, all the way to a college or pro athlete who doesn't want to risk their sponsorship or scholarship and needs true sport CBD products free of over 300 banned substances. Visit CascadeCBXSports.com, sport.com that is, and trust the Shield to stay on the field.
Catch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks winner.
Well, I mean, you got to credit Hogs, I suppose, here. That Jeffers home run kind of did everything for him here, so he ends up winning this thing with Ryan Jeffers, 7 points. He gets the half-point bonus as well. Listeners picks Buxton. They were looking like they were cruising to a victory. Buxton finishes with 7. I picked Bell, who had 5. You picked Lewis, who had -5. And that tightens things up here on the season standings so far, David.
Yeah, my goodness. So, Dan, you're still in the lead with 3.5. I'm at 3. Now, Hogs is at 2.5. And the listeners have fallen to last place with 1.5. I don't know, Dan. They picked first. You would think the odds would favor them, but I guess it is. I mean, it is a little bit random in that you don't know who's going to perform well. But if you always get first pick, you think that they'd have the opportunity for some more victories here, Dan.
It's early, David. As we saw last year, much can still happen. So let's go ahead and go into Beast versus Bench.
Beast versus Bench.
Is losing fun? Is losing fun?
It's a nice graphic, David. I can't take that, but again, it comes with a disclaimer. This was created by AI. My Beast is going to be Buxton. The 2 home runs, which were in clutch situations. He also had a hit in the top of the 9th in Game 3 to keep that inning alive, kind of a double into the corner. He also had that fantastic diving catch to keep that game within reach. He's doing the things that the Twins need him to do. He looks like a leader out there in every way. It's kind of refreshing, after Carlos Correa out there.
Why are you so obsessed with me?
I just feel like Buxton is a better leader.
Yeah, I think so. And that catch that you talk about, I want to take us to that moment for just a second. So Buxton comes in, full sprint, dives, hits his stomach. It looks like he's injured, but then you watch the replay and you can see that there's no limb that looks to be injured. So I think he just had the wind knock out of him, which I'm sure didn't feel very good. But
I don't
my
believe
goodness,
that man's ever been to medical school.
I've watched some ER, Dan. Settle down. But the reason why I want to talk
You're
about
a Scrubs guy, aren't you?
I love Scrubs so much. But anyway, so let's not talk about the reboot. That's another podcast. Dan, we can only have so many podcasts here. But so, okay, the play before that, when the runs actually scored and the Mets took the lead, it was a single to right field to Matt Wallner. And I got to tell you, Dan, I have to tell you that I think if he was running full out, he should have been able to catch this ball. And in that moment,
That's a moose.
you knew how important it was to prevent those runs from scoring. And I get it. In that moment, you're thinking, I can't let this ball get by me. If I dive for it and I miss it, it's going to lead to another run. In that moment, I think you have to do it. You have to go for it knowing how the offense has been quite sparing for these teams here. I just think that he needed to make that play, and you could see it in his head that he gave up on it. And I think in his mind, this is what I think happened. He thought that I think I can get him at home. That's what I think was going through his mind.
Sure.
He's like, I think I'm going to be able to throw him out at home. But it was not close. You got a fast guy running those bases there, Matt. You got to make the play when you can.
I think this guy would have dove. You don't think Max dives?
Maybe he might
Max
have.
dives.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
what's your beast?
Yeah, I got to go with Prelip and Rojas here. Just good debuts all around. It was a sort of a refreshing sight here to see these prospects come up who we're going to have to lean on as the season progresses to show that they were competent and they didn't get knocked around right away. For my bench, Dan, I'm going to go the opposite direction and go with the seasoned bullpen here, who really struggled, obviously. But
Seasoned with what, David?
Dan, we're a family show. Let's go ahead and just take a break there. But so who I'm going to give it to, specifically in the bullpen, is Banda. And this is why, Dan. This is why. In Game 3, the bottom of the 8th, you walk the number 9 batter to get to Bo Bichette, which makes no sense. Like, you have to get the number 9 batter. It's Tommy Pham. He doesn't have a hit this season. He hasn't played in many games. What on earth are you doing walking that guy? You can't let that happen. It's ridiculous. And I think that he needs to understand that you're supposed to be one of the guys in this bullpen. And honestly, that's not saying much. It's a pretty low bar to clear as far as like the MLB is concerned from a closing or a high leverage situation type arm. But my goodness, you can't walk the number 9 batter, a guy who hasn't gotten a hit all season, Dan.
I don't think it was on purpose. I think he didn't go after him enough. It wasn't
no
like
excuses.
This
is Blair Walsh wide left, Dan. I'm not doing this.
Painful moment, David. That's not quite like that. Well, okay, so my guy is going to be
Minnesota moment.
So yeah, there you go. So mine is going to be Royce.
You were the chosen one.
1 for 8, 5 strikeouts. He's supposed to be big moment Royce, and he just keeps striking out. I will hold to this. I think his arc is kind of like a Buxton arc, because I think we saw flashes of Buxton not hit. You know, they're different players, right? I still think there's more that Lewis can give, but I'm kind of like, I don't know. You can't send the guy to AAA right now because you need third. He's better than the other options at third base right now. I'm hoping that he turns it around. But this is not a good series for him coming back off the injured list.
Yeah, it was quite frustrating. I hope it is just a timing thing, and once he's back and up to speed, that this Rays series goes a lot better for him than this series, Dan, because he can't be one of the guys who were like, when are you going to call somebody up? Like, he's supposed to be one of the guys who needs to take a big step forward here if this team's going to be competitive, especially by that May 10th date, Dan.
Oh, yes, you're still holding on to that. Let's go Derek's debrief here.
You ever seen Buck with his pants down? No.
Derek's debrief.
So, Derek, this is what I want to say. Buddy, nobody blames you for your bullpen usage. Nobody blames you. We know you're doing the best with what you have. There's only so much you can do when you're given literally nobody to turn to in the bullpen. And it just reminds me, in Good Will Hunting, Dan, where the girlfriend's all like, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. That's what I want to do.
It's not the girlfriend. That's Sean. That's the therapist. He says that to him. Sounds like we need to talk about that. Yeah, I'm positive, David. That's like my favorite movie. He hugs him and he holds him. He says, "I hope don't you this, dude. Not you too, Sean. Right? Not
I
you
hope
too.
you're wrong about this.
I'm
Whatever,
not
whoever
wrong.
it is.
Listeners,
I
we have
remember
more
the scene.
things
I
to
just
tell
have
us
it a little
about
bit mixed up here.
No, there's the other scene with Skylar, the girlfriend. How many times have you seen that movie? I'm a little embarrassed.
I don't know, a few, but it's probably been like 5 years.
That's not enough, David.
Wait, what do you mean the other scene? So I'm thinking about a scene where she says that too?
No, she doesn't say that. She just wants him to open up a little bit more, and he gets defensive and he storms out. It's a great movie.
Okay, does she ever say it's not your fault?
She does not. Question. She never says it's not your fault. Robin Williams says it.
Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to find her saying it's not your fault.
Continue
I believe you that the
your...
part I believe you that what you're saying is accurate, that like the part that I'm thinking of is likely Robin Williams and not the girlfriend. But now, just out of spite, I'm going to go back and hope that she utters those words just so I can tell you that oh my I didn't even know we still had that sounder, Dan.
Oh, I'm not letting go of Michael Tonkin's sounder. You just never know.
I don't have that sounder. That one is long gone off my
What were we talking about? Nobody can blame you. It's a great illusion. You're just getting it wrong, but go ahead.
I'm getting it right enough, Dan. Let it be. Just let it be, man. I don't understand. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, even if I got the scene not exactly correct here. But so all that being said, I just feel bad for Derek Shelton because you have to think in his mind, he's thinking, well, how am I going to defend this move? Well, easily you can defend this move. You didn't have any other moves to make. And so I just, it's got to be really hard as a manager when you have such a little impact on the game to begin with, and then to be having any real decision that could impact the game taken away from you has got to be a really difficult position to be put into.
I totally agree on that. I'm going to take us a different direction here. So if people have been following the Twins, they know that Cody and Alicia Funderburk have been going through, let's just say, a pretty stressful time in their lives here. So Alicia Funderburk just had a baby, their first, which is really cool. There's a lot of good stories out there. Lavelli Neal has a good story. MLB.com with Leach has a good story too on this. But all the while, so she's been dealing with cancer as well. She's got Hodgkin's lymphoma. And it was only really discovered early because they were going in for tests that you go through when you have a baby. I just think the handling of this, as you read more about this, is really a kind of a good on ya for Derek Shelton here, in the way that they were always saying, hey, if you need to go back from spring training and go be with your wife, that's totally fine. Cody apparently was worried that he didn't have a job, or you hadn't kind of guaranteed a spot. I guess Derek had basically said, no, you're going to be in this bullpen. But really cool. He's been away. You could argue the Twins probably could have used him in this series, obviously, but he's where he needs to be with his family. So we just wish Cody and Alicia Funderburk well, and just appreciate the human approach to this that I think all teams do. But I think this certainly was. Gosh, what an amazing time for Cody and for Alicia having a baby, and then also going through cancer treatment. So we wish them all the best.
Yeah, hopefully everybody comes out happy and healthy at the end of that, Dan, and they live long, healthy lives and watch their kids grow up. So
indeed,
let's go ahead and push here. Minnesota moment. Nope.
Minnesota moment.
I have to go game 1, top 9, Dan. So Devin Williams is on the mound. The Twins load the bases because you got runners on first and second. You have Jams Outmake running for Bell on second base. Cody Clemens is at the plate, and he lays down a bunt, and it's a pretty good bunt, Dan.
Yeah,
it goes down the first baseline, and again, Jams Outmake is running to third base. And so you have Vientos, I think, the first baseman for the Mets. He fields the ball, and to everybody's surprise, throws to third base, which, not a good idea, Dan. Not a good idea at all. What happened here is Jams Outmake beat the throw. And all of a sudden, you got no outs and the bases loaded when you should have had one out with runners on second and third. And it was just amazing because if you're a Mets fan, if that happened to me as a Twins fan, I would be screaming at the television. So the Boo Birds coming out so strong there for the Mets. It was a fun moment, though, as a Twins fan to know that, okay, we can actually come back and win a baseball game. I didn't know that was not against the rules, Dan.
Well, and Devin Williams, his ERA for the Mets this year, at least at that point, 9.95. In 22, 23, and 24 for Milwaukee, which I think is when a lot of Twins fans know him, he had sub 2.0 ERAs. I mean, that whole time. So it's really hard to be a relief pitcher in the majors. It sounds like a guy the Mets are going to drop and the Twins are going to give a chance to, because he still might be a better option than Anthony Banda. I think
the reclamation project, certainly.
So for me, it's got to be that grand slam in Game 3, top of the eighth. I mean, you did have that feel that the Twins could come back here because they chased the Mets starter early, and so you think you're going to be going deep into their bullpen. Now, the funny thing, Lee had singled, then there were a couple quick outs, but then Larnach singles, Bell walks, all of a sudden the bases are loaded, and then Jeffers takes an 0-1 pitch, sinker, middle, and then hits it 377 feet with a wonderful bat flip. You knew that thing was out. Corey Probus had a great call. So even though they lost the game, I think that there was just some fight to this team that we have really seen throughout the whole month of April that I think is admirable, given that the outside voices have said, nah, this team isn't going to be any good. And here they are. They're hanging around 500.
Yeah, it's not terrible, Dan. So speaking of the standings here, Twins are a game and a half back. Cleveland and Detroit lead the AL Central here with 14-12 records. We're at 12-13. The White Sox are at 10-15, and the Royals, surprisingly, at 8-17. So it's not like the season is over already. It's just one of those things. I think we were so excited when the team got back to 500 that to fall below 500 again is just a little bit disappointing because we all have this dread now. Are we ever going to get back to playing 500 baseball? And I don't know, Dan. Like I said, maybe the good times are over, and this is going to get to be sort of what we expected the season to be. But let's talk about Mauer's musings here. See if there's some ways we can counter that perspective, Dan.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Mauer's musings.
Well, okay, so I'm going to go with the pitching side. Do you think any of these younger players can actually be the answer to the bullpen woes? Because what I feel like I saw was another starter in Connor Prelip, and I think Kendry Rojas kind of fashions himself as a starter too. So like, you can't piggyback. I mean, I really think the piggybacking might not be the worst idea, but like you can't piggyback every spot in the rotation here. So what do you think? Are any of these younger guys, Andrew Morris, like, do they have the stuff, and could they be converted into bullpen arms well enough to stop the bleeding here?
Well, I think it's so difficult to find out because you don't really see them throwing like bullpen arms, right? Like, I mean, like you just alluded to, they're piggybacks. And so they're expected to throw more than one inning. And the thing is, whenever you're converting a starter to a reliever, the first thing you notice is an uptick in velocity. Well, if Andrew Morris comes into the game and there's 4 innings left to pitch, you're not going to see what his numbers would be as a reliever. You're going to see what his numbers are as a starter, because that's how he's approaching this. He needs to get through several innings. And so I would love to tell you yes, but because none of these guys are really fashioned to be a bullpen arm as of yet, we're not really seeing what their bullpen stuff looks like. So I hope that they have an answer in AAA somewhere. But the problem is, Dan, what are you going to do? How easy is it to keep converting guys back and forth between starter and reliever? And even these guys who are starters coming up, like Andrew Morris, for instance, as we're talking about him, it's got to be really difficult for a guy to be like, okay, you're going to go to the major league club, but you're not going to know when you're going to pitch. And that seems like they might have an idea. Like, they're like, hey, you're probably going to pitch in this game. But it's very difficult for me to see what the thinking is long-term with these guys. And it's got to be really rough on the development of these pitchers who they don't know what they're supposed to be yet, Dan.
It's not that hard, Scott. Tell him, Wash.
It's incredibly hard.
It's kind of how I feel. Like, I totally agree. I'm fascinated to see what they're going to do, because I don't think a starter ever wants to be converted. We saw that with Louis Varland. He never wanted to be a start, or he never wanted to be a reliever, and he was good last year for the Mets and for the Twins. What do you got?
Yeah, so really the question is, I feel like I just choose a different player each time for this series, for this question. Like, how much longer should the Twins stick with Matt Wallner? Because right now, the way that
That's a moose.
right now, the way the season is shaking out, Trevor Larnach has definitely established himself as the guy.
Go figure.
Right? Right? Like, he seems to be the guy, the left-handed guy who you want at the plate over Wallner, who his at-bats don't look competitive. And there's only so many times I can be told about how his OPS is so great and his career OPS is off the charts. Well, if he never hits the ball again, that OPS is going to continue to drop, Dan. And I can't keep watching him take these at-bats that just don't look good, Dan. And so I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with this. Alan Roden, I guess, tore his labrum on his right shoulder. So no surgery, but he's out for 4 weeks. So then, to be fair, what we talked about last episode, Dan, it's more likely if the Twins are going to make a move from AAA, it'll be Emmanuel Rodriguez coming up because Alan Roden is now injured, which I got to say, Dan, at this point, what do you have to lose? Rodriguez probably would have caught the ball in game 2 that Wallner let drop.
There you go, yeah.
And he likely would have gotten on base more than Matt Wallner as well. And so I think I'm ready for Matt Wallner to either go down to AAA and figure it out, or just start giving Larnach all the starts in right and left field.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's got an option left, so I think you can send him down one more time and hope that he can figure it out. And this has happened before, right? Matt Wallner he has a terrible April, he goes down to AAA, and then he comes back and he's hitting better after he's mashed AAA for, like an OPS of 1.2 or something like that. So
he could just be a quad A guy, Dan. We don't really know.
All right, let's move forward to grade the series.
Series grades.
Well, I got to give him a D here, Dan. There's just too many offensive chances here, and honestly, knowing how thin your margins are with this bullpen, you have to capitalize when you have those opportunities. Their average with running and scoring position, it was at like 305 5 games ago, and now it keeps falling. Now it's down to like 280, which right now isn't terrible, but it is when you keep losing games back to back here, Dan. So I'm going to give him a D. I think you really should have taken 2 out of 3 against a Mets team that's clearly struggling here. And home field advantage kind of felt like a disadvantage in this one, where all of the fans are booing for the most part. Like, you should be able to catch some of that lightning in a bottle, and they should have won 2 out of 3 here, Dan.
Yeah, I look at the lineup and I didn't see a ton of issues. Jeffers passed ball, by the way. We didn't talk about this. That was really costly in Game 3 there. It took away a strikeout and then kind of allowed that. Any one of those moments in that game against the Mets in Game 3 were costly. Top of the lineup, though, I gave it 8 out of 10. The distraction here is 12 strikeouts amongst those 3 spots in 3 games. Middle, I mentioned the costly pass ball. I gave him a 7 out of 10 there. Bottom, Brooksley's weird. He was 3 for 4 in one of the other games, but then he was 0 for 4 with the 4 strikeouts there. I'm still trying to figure out what he is at the plate. 8 out of 10 there. Starters a 6 out of 10. They didn't have a good start, really. I mean, Connor Prelip was fine, but he only gave him 4 innings. And then the bullpen a 6 out of 10 because they didn't lock it down late in game 2 and 3, really. That adds out to a 35 out of 50, which is a C-, which really isn't that different than what you've got.
No, a D and a C-. The difference is not that different at all, Dan. But I can tell you the difference that I feel in my life when I've been drinking well as opposed to not drinking enough water, Dan. So 75% of people walking around out there are dehydrated. It's not a good thing. Dehydration can leave you feeling irritable, can give you brain fog and feeling low energy, especially in this heat. Well, we've discovered a new hydration hero, and their name is Drip Drop. Drip Drop was invented more than a decade ago by Dr. Dolan during life-saving humanitarian aid missions across the globe. He created Drip Drop for fast hydration where IVs weren't possible. Backed by 6 decades of ORS science, designed for both speed and taste to deliver the fastest possible hydration. Drip Drop is like a secret weapon. 90% of all professional sports teams across the major sports use Drip Drop, including the Vikings, Wild, Wolves, and your own Minnesota Twins. There's a reason the best choose Drip Drop. It's a superior product. Simply put, Drip Drop works faster and tastes better. Head to Amazon or DripDrop.com and order some Drip Drop, mixed with water, and experience for yourself the fastest way to hydrate.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines.
Dan, I don't know if you know this, but the Mets snapped their 12-game losing streak. Like, anytime we do this, like the MLB, if you're subscribed, you get the newsletter with all the news and stuff, and it's like every note that I saw on MLB News here was, hey, did you see that the Mets snapped their yes, we're aware. But then we have to talk about Hoag's favorite player, Shohei Ohtani. His on-base streak ends at 53 games, Dan, but his ERA is still at 0.38. Remarkable, Dan Thompson.
Yeah, the MVP chance, I'm sure, is starting early. Also, a new survey of online forums found that the Athletics have the most foul-mouthed fan base. Surprising a little bit after this Mets series. Boston is second. Are you shocked by any of these numbers here?
It's a little bit tricky, right? Because I think that going in person to games is probably different than what they did with this like Vegas study, where basically they just went online to all of the different forums for all of the different sports teams and they searched for naughty words, more or less.
Did they use ChatGPT to figure that out too, David, or did they actually do some real journalism here?
No, I would guess that there's quite a bit of AI generative statistics here going through Reddit posts and whatnot. But so the funniest part about it is they show like which word is the most used as far as foul language is concerned. But with the Athletics, you'd think, why is that? Well, it makes a lot of sense. If you're a lifelong Athletics fan, your life has been rough the last few years. Dan, I don't even know what city name is in front of their name at this point. They're just the Athletics, right? Like, I don't even know where they play.
They do not have another one in front of them. So,
I mean, they might play in St. Paul for all I know, Dan. I couldn't tell you.
There was another poll too. I think it was the Athletic that said that baseball players think that the Twin Cities is one of the worst road trips to go to. It was the Twin Cities and Cincinnati. I forget if it's the Athletic or not, so I should have looked that up again. But no love for the Twin Cities there in that poll. So who knows? But let's move forward here. Let's make our picks for this Rays series here.
And we'll see you tomorrow night. Puckett's picks.
Yeah, so the listeners are going to take Jeffers off the board. Goes to me. I'm going to take Buxton, and then it goes to you, Dan.
Well, so I've badmouthed him earlier, but I think that Royce Lewis turns this around here. So I'm going to pick Royce. I think he had a home run in Tampa once that was pretty memorable.
Sure, let's go with that. And so then Hoags is going to return to his first love, Luke Keishel, who still has magic hair, Dan.
I have magic hair that glows when I sing.
That's our own little streak. We got to use that sounder as much as possible. Well, again, folks, please like and subscribe us as much as you can. Let us know what you think of the video. If you've been watching it, if you haven't checked it out before, please do check it out. Love the comments. We really appreciate the new listeners we've picked up. I think, David, with that, I'm going to go ahead and send us out.
Please do.
Well, folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on X at Min for the Win. You can find our Min for the Win Facebook and Instagram and YouTube pages. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platforms so you're notified when new episodes are available. And if you could leave us a rating or like, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to support the show further, you can find us on Patreon. The link is in the description. Thank you for listening, and as always, go Twins.
That'll wrap up another episode of Min for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, with special guest appearances from Andrew Hoags Hoganson, 3 avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Minnesota Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins!